Fractured World History presents Invasion of Our World, Warhammer 40K, written by Paul Fisherman, but owned by Games Workshop. It can also be found on Facebook and YouTube under the name Fractured World History. Part 3, A Final Conversation. Dan Stinson has dedicated his life to spycraft and intelligence gathering. After 35 years of service to the Central Intelligence Agency, one might think that nothing could surprise him. It was impossible to prepare him or anyone for the sudden appearance of alien warships now raining hellfire down on the planet. He now resides in a safehouse buried deep within the Chicago cityscape. A fierce battle rages above him as he closes a thick steel door behind the last member of his team. There is no need for any of the other operatives to say goodbye. Everyone understands their role. Although Dan could have left with them, evacuation protocol calls for neutralizing any remaining detainees and destroying the safe house. He can't help but laugh whenever he reads the word neutralized, since it means to shoot them in the face. There is only one person left inside the facility besides him, so it is his responsibility as station chief to address their needs. There are dozens of Imperium corpses littering the various rooms as he wanders the empty halls. As with most humans, none of them survive the non-stop torture and interrogation for hours on end. No one is safe from the cruelty of man on either side, since the invaders also employ unrestricted torture and dismemberment. Every single prisoner brought into the safe house has died save for one. Once the coffee maker beeps, Dan sighs and carefully fills 2 mugs before making his way to an unlocked door. When entering, he discovers a woman tied to a chair with white hair and wearing only shorts and a tank top. Seeing the countless scars scattered across her pale white skin, he is overwhelmed by a sense of empathy. These monuments of torture tell the story of a lifetime spent in battle. Countless reminders of holy wars fought whose memory has been lost to oblivion. Before he can even enter the room, her head raised, she is a member of the Adeptus Sororitas, otherwise known as the Sisters of Battle, a religious military order built for warfare. Here, orphan girls are taken in and indoctrinated with brutal forms of combat and given an unbreakable faith in the Emperor of mankind. They have but one purpose in life: to destroy any heretic who refuses to convert and spread the light of the Emperor to every reach of the galaxy. Their religious conquest has now seen most of humanity's holy sites in smoldering ruins. Jerusalem, Mecca, and the Vatican were amongst the first structures to be utterly destroyed. Now, nearly all temples and shrines of every religion have been completely demolished. It took great effort, but a Black Ops team was able to sedate and remove the sister without being noticed during an intense gunfight. Dan makes no attempt to remain hidden and clears his throat. "Good morning." The woman does not respond, while a series of explosions signal the approaching battle. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Dan moves a metal chair closer to sit modestly close to the prisoner. "Man, your people sure are causing havoc up there." After a short silence, "I'm surprised and impressed that you survived. Most of your friends didn't make it. However, all of them said the same things. The Emperor will sustain me. He will protect me from these cruel devices. Turns out that was a lie. It looks like this corpse god of yours doesn't care to protect his followers when I hook the car battery to their nuts." Angrily, she refuses to give to the blast and raises her head from beneath the hood. "If you're gonna kill me, get it over with. But spare me your blasphemous remarks, heretic." Dan smiles. "Finally, she speaks. I was concerned that the beatings you took might have damaged something important." Her body tightens when he stands up and approaches her. The moment he removes her damp black hood, she flinches and startled. Although Dan is a cold-blooded killer from his time in the United States Marine Corps and the agency, he still feels pity for her despite all this. Savage beatings have left her face blackened and blue. Her fingernails have been removed, and multiple scars have appeared where skin and branding iron met. There was a time when she was quite beautiful, and there may be a time when she will be beautiful again, if the wounds heal properly. Although he wants to untie her and give her some relief, Dan knows that she could break him in seconds. He had a tough time killing a handful he met in battle and has no desire to fight one hand-to-hand. No, I'm not trying to kill you. All I want is an honest conversation. Help me understand how someone can survive all that torture and still be as calm as a bug on a drug. She smirks. Oh, how you heretics ask questions you'll never understand. The answer is faith. Dan nods and takes a drink of coffee and lets the aroma of fresh Colombian cocoa fill her nose for the first time. Once done, he replies, faith is what cowards use to hide behind in order to commit horrific crimes with impunity. No, I refuse to accept that excuse. He leans back. What's your name? She scowls. What's the point in seeking my name? Do you intend to curse it? He laughs. No, I want to understand you better. What makes you unique and where you are from? The woman lunges forward, only restrained by the tight ropes. This is pointless. My sisters will find this place and you will be shot as a heretic. Dan returns a harmless, warm smile. If that is the case, then there's no harm in having a little chat. I mean you no ill will, and I had nothing to do with the barbarous tortures beset upon you and your colleagues. She studies him carefully to make sure he's not lying. For reasons she cannot explain, he looks at her like a father gazes upon their daughter, with wonder, love, and admiration. She never knew her father, and the entire experience feels alien to her, almost wrong. Now sure that this isn't a trick, she responds. My name is Sister Naomi, a member of the Order of the Bloody Rose, servant of the true God Emperor, an instrument of his violent will. Dan nods in appreciation. That is a beautiful name, Naomi. I am Dan Stinson. Since she isn't sure how to react to the genuine response, she lets him continue. I'm amazed at how many of your people share names with ours, even though you're from another world. Did you know that your name is found in a Holy Bible? Naomi chuckles at the absurdity. My name is unknown to your people. It is just a coincidence that it's anywhere inside your blasphemous scriptures. Dan doesn't feel insulted and remembers the many similar conversations he had with religious extremists over the years. Obviously, this is just another one of those exchanges, but he hopes that something good will come out of it. If you give me a minute, I'll try to find a copy so you can read it. Perhaps it'll put some insight on why such a great name. She furiously shakes her head and tries to free herself. You won't be bringing such filth into my presence. Spare me the story time, heretic. Dan chuckles and respects her request. Don't worry, we don't have to read it. I find it gorgeous because I have a daughter, or rather had a daughter with the same name. Naomi feels guilt for the first time in her life. What do you mean you had a daughter? She asks while Dan wipes tears from his eyes. My daughter was a pilot and a talented one too. Her squadron was destroyed over a battle over San Francisco earlier this week. Even though she is now dead, I am very proud of her. Tell me, Naomi, do you have children? He carefully places a picture of a beautiful, joyful young woman in her 20s wearing an Air Force pilot uniform on the table between them. In the photograph, the girl smiles and hugs her father under a warm summer sky. Naomi has spent her life in battle and never considered this. I have no time for children. My purpose is violence and the spreading of my emperor's doctrine. A pacified world is like a newborn child to me. Under the warmth of our God Emperor, a sprawling population can live in peace. Dan takes another sip of coffee, making sure the aroma remains fresh in her nose. Is that what you think you're doing here? Creating happiness with violence and death? She nods without hesitation. Rebirth can only be achieved through destruction. It is only after the filth of this world has been burned away that a true life can begin. It is my dream, no, my purpose, to see all evil from existence purged and holy peace spread everywhere. Dan nods. I get the purity of the statement, but how can killing 7 billion people bring peace? Yes, you can bring in colonists, but it will only ever be a hollow shell of what it used to be. Naomi grunts at the hypocrisy. Your people killed each other before we got here and inflicted such destruction on your own rest. You didn't seem like a coward, but now I'm almost certain of it. Dan finishes his cup and laughs. Darn, I'm out. I'll have to get some more. Here's one if you want to try. Naomi spits in the cup. Your vile poisons won't work on me. To prove a point, Dan takes a drink from her cup and she starts laughing. It's certainly terrifying and tastes fantastic. Try some. If you truly do believe in this divine emperor's protection, then I'm sure no harm will come to you. She hesitates as he holds it to her lips and eventually cautiously sips. The warm liquid soothes her throat with a hint of pleasure and joy she's never felt before. In a playful gesture, Dan pulls the cup away from her mouth, and she follows. The look in her eyes when the wondrous look is taken away makes them both laugh. "That's pretty tasty poison, ain't it?" Despite her best efforts, a laugh escapes her. "It is good. May I have some more, please?" Dan agrees and leaves her to brew another batch. While he's gone, Naomi can't stop looking at the photograph of the deceased pilot. It is the first time she's put a face to the victim of the Imperium's religious crusade. Her heart is full of guilt, but a heartfelt prayer to the divine emperor immediately crushes it. Dan returns with a hot cup, and the sight of it fills Naomi with a longful lust, and all she wants to do is savor its warm delight. Slowly, Dan brings the cup to her face. "It'd be easier if you held it and drank it yourself." "Will you attack me if I cut you loose?" She responds, "I'd choke you to death without hesitation." Dan likes her sass. "If that's the case, then it's smart to keep you on a leash. I'll hold it for you." They awkwardly share the moment as he holds the cup to her lips. She drinks it too fast and it spills all over her cheek. They both laugh and Dan gets up to retrieve a napkin. Soon he starts wiping it away affectionately like a father cleaning up his newborn. It's the first time anyone has ever shown her such kindness, so she doesn't know what to do. He finishes and smiles. "Look at the mess you've made. You remind me of my daughter very much. I know I won't survive today, and I'm glad that my God provided me a way to spend a little bit more time with my Naomi." As the sister of battle stares at him, she wonders if he's gone insane or if the sentiment is genuine. She studies a man and notices a silver cross on a necklace hidden underneath his body armor. "Do you worship the resurrected Son?" It takes Dan a moment to realize what she means. "Are you referring to my cross?" "Yes. When I helped burn the Vatican to the ground, I noticed many of those religious insignia." While Dan isn't a Catholic, it saddens him to see such an iconic religious church gone forever. "I am a Christian, but it won't matter in a few days for anyone left on earth." There's a sadness in his voice, but also peace. "Do you fear damnation, Dan Stinson?" He replies with a warm smile. "No. Whenever my time here is up, I'll be with my Father, His Son, and His Divine Spirit. The Imperium may have destroyed my world, but I have peace knowing that this isn't the end of my story." His conviction makes Naomi feel uneasy. There's no ring of chaos in his voice, or the sounds of a deluded follower from a gene steal or cult. He speaks like he's at peace with the end of the world. Taking another sip, Naomi asks, "Why are you being so kind to me? We're enemies, and I'd never show such weakness to a foe." He nods. "By definition, we are enemies, set to destroy one another for causes we both don't understand. Right now, however, we don't need to fight. Instead, we can enjoy this moment of civility and kindness that every human being, whether from this world or another, should strive to embody. I have no hatred in my heart towards you, Naomi, and I never will." An explosion rings out further down the hallway, meaning Naomi's sister have found the compound and will soon break in. She watches as Dan's warm smile disappears and becomes like an iron statue ready for war. Unexpectedly, she finds herself begging, "You are a good man, Dan Stinson. You don't have to die. Please lay down your weapons, and I give you my word that my sisters will not hurt you if you renounce your false god and embrace the Emperor's light. You will be allowed to live." Jan gently caresses her cheek. "My sweet Naomi, we probably could have spent more time together in another life, but I have lived by the sword, and actions have consequences. Every step I've taken has led me to this point. My colleagues wanted to kill you before I left, but for some reason I spared you. Now I fully understand why. We were meant to have this conversation, and I hope that I have had a positive impression on you for our brief time together. Please, find redemption and get off this terrible path that's robbed you and billions of people of their futures." An explosion sends a thick steel door flying off the hinges down the hall. Dan smiles one more time. "I'm gonna miss you, Naomi. I have a feeling you're gonna be all right. I hope you live a long time and have plenty of adventures. Keep in mind that you're more than a slave, and I hope that one day we can meet again for more conversations. Thank you for the gift you've given me, and farewell." After kissing her on the forehead, he leaves, and Naomi starts screaming, "Come back! Please, come back and untie me! I want you to live! Please don't do this! I need you to live!" A terrifying silence descends over the building as Dan's footsteps soften. Suddenly, a violent argument breaks out between lasgun and gunpowder. There's a quick gunfight that ends in seconds, and Naomi wonders if Dan won. Her heart races with hope, and she fears until footsteps return down the hall. She hopes that perhaps this resurrected son has protected his faithful servant. In the end, she finds another Adeptus Sororitas member, who thanks the Emperor for guiding her to Naomi and lets her go. Immediately, Naomi asks what happened to the man who defied them. The Sister of Battle laughs and declares he was pointless and weak and died as he lived, insignificant. Naomi knows better than to shed tears for a heretic, lest she face a firing squad from the Inquisition. Before leaving, she asks to be alone for a few minutes since the ordeal was traumatizing, and to privately pray to the Emperor for the rescue. After making sure no one's around, she finds Dan's body splattered against the wall. She holds his lifeless hand and cries over a man she just met until a voice outside harshly tells her to hurry up and rejoin the war. For reasons only she knows, Naomi removes Dan's silver cross necklace and holds it tightly. No matter how this war turns out, Naomi will never forget the kind man who showed her a father's unconditional love and only wanted to have a final conversation with her. The end.